What's good, everybody? My name is Alckemy. Welcome to the channel. I am so excited to share this video with you because I just released my latest preset pack called Æturnum 2, and it features a lot of different sounds. This is pretty much just a main bass if you play it vanilla, which sounds like this. Then I've got one macro that makes it into a Neuro kind of processor. And then I've got another macro that turns it into a generator that messes a lot with pitch effects and stuff. And you can play and twist these together and do all the different kinds of things. And one thing that I wanted to tackle with this is how do you use this in a song? And so what better way to do that than show you some actual music that I've made and give you an insight not only into how you can use these presets for your own production, but also, well, just how I make music these days, which is a lot of fun. So before we get into all that stuff though, I've got a lot of information to share with you. Please do me a favor, like and subscribe. And if you are interested in this pack whatsoever, I've got a full video on every single preset before you buy it, because I really just want you all to freaking love the heck out of this as much as I do. So let's take a listen to this and we will kind of get started on how things work. Yeah, so I'm not going to play the whole thing for you. This tune is already out. It's called Stalking Ghosts from the Tales from the Coffin. I guess it's not really an EP, but it's just kind of a collection of different soundscapes and stuff that I put out. But as you can hear, there's a lot of crazy glitch textures and stuff. And while I don't use everything exclusive from Phaseplant to kind of conjure this, it all kind of has the same idea about using glitch textures and stuff. So let's go ahead and jump right in. That patch that I just played for you, the one called Stalker MPE, is the patch that I made specifically for this tune. And it started from a story that I had, which I just kind of imagined some kind of specter or crazy ghost, or I was thinking about The Evil Within 2. There's this really cool ghost that kind of chases you throughout the game, and it's really awesome, and so that kind of inspired that. The reason why all of these patches are called MPE is because it kind of stands for multi-polyphonic expression. Now there's a caveat to that. Phaseplant does not currently support true MPE. It would be more like multi-monophonic expression. But the way that this works is that if I have an MPE controller and I push just a note, it's going to play the bass on its own. And then theoretically, as I would turn or push the note harder over time, then it would activate the first macro. And as I slide my finger up, kind of like the keyboard, let's just pretend this is, if I slide this up here, then it would activate the second macro. And the harder I press it, kind of like that, it would activate that. So there's a really cool reaction between all of these, and that's what most of these patches have. And by doing that, you just end up getting some really interesting texture in that way. And some other things to keep in mind too is that because these are synced, that means that different BPMs are going to affect this in such a way. As you can tell, this is at technically 184 BPM, but this tune was kind of written completely arbitrary, which I'll kind of touch on later. So anyways, I've got this pretty much bounced out, and I just recorded a bunch of different movements with this, and I ended up getting, you know, just a lot of different stuff that sounds kind of like starting from vanilla, and then I'll just kind of cycle through some of this stuff. And there's tons of movements even just within this, few seconds of a clip that I easily could have started the rest of the tune with. But the one that I tend to have favored, I think, was this movement right here. That wasn't quite the one, but that one was still really cool, and that's why I pulled it out, but it might be this one here. Yeah, that one was super cool. And you can actually hear that is placed right here. So I found that motif, and then I added just a little bit of a different cut here. So, and that's actually where the tune started. So you can see here that the only thing that's actually playing during this entire tune are just the bass and the kick and snare. So if I were to unsolo this, and if I were to just kind of, I guess let's just loop it to right here, you can kind of hear that this can kind of loop, not necessarily indefinitely, but in a means that it is a nice riff or a nice call and response. And that's really kind of like what this is. Now, what's interesting about this and how I've been making tunes as of late is kind of just in the midst of storytelling. And I'm not going to go too deeply into that because that's like a whole, 2-hour video on that. But the theory behind it is that I kind of just broke the grid. And actually, I would say that like if you want to learn more about that, then please go hit up Hudson Lee and say, hey, Alckemy was talking about doing stuff off grid and stuff. Can you help me? Because he would be able to teach you better. He's the one that taught me how to do it. And thanks, Hudson. I love you, man. I really appreciate it. In any case, all this stuff is kind of off grid and off that, but whenever you're talking about using some of this stuff, this is the most clear-cut example that you can do in order to find this. And for me, I didn't really do a whole lot of processing to this. Ideally, you will kind of do that through the Phaseplant patch, and I'm not really sure. I think it's somewhere down here, hidden deep within. Yeah, so one thing that I do is I have this recycling bin, and then as opposed to keeping all of these on or whatever, I just kind of come through each of them and kind of figure out which ones I want to use. But I'm looking through here and it doesn't look like I have any external processing on all of these. Now, I won't really talk about the sound design in this video because that, again, it's just kind of a completely different thing that's insane. But in looking at that, a lot of times it doesn't really matter what I'm doing, whether it be bass or whether it be glitch textures or soundscapes or whatever. I almost always do this complete chunk. Now, one thing that you can do that I've also been successful in, because obviously this isn't the only motif that I have in here, this part is also in here as well. Is for one, you can splice together different hits and stuff, and it's a lot easier to do if it's slower, but really the main thing about it is placement of rhythm. And what I mean is that, if I were to take this right here and I were to hit Command and Option, then I can scrub through the sample and easily find something completely different. Which arguably that wasn't even that bad, but it's more so about finding, the rhythm and stuff. And that's part of the reason what makes Bitwig so cool. You can also do this in Ableton as long as you have something that can scrub the sample. But when you do really long cuts like this, it's not really even so important for you to listen to the entire thing back and then, try to pick that exact cut or whatever. You can literally just, take a piece of silence even from the end of this, and whenever you are sequencing or something, just kind of leave that there. Okay, let's try that again. And then what you can do, again, is just kind of scrub through and find a piece that you like, but everything is rhythmic. So let's say I want a piece right there, and I want a piece right there, and then I want a piece right there, and this is going to be more conventional, so to speak. Let's just make these like, kind of like bass plucks or something. Which, that's actually kind of cool. You could easily make something out of that just by doing that. And then maybe let's say for right here, right, I think that like I'm doing myself a favor too, because I got really lucky and made just like so many cool sounds in here that they all sound, well, they work really well together. But you can see here that I can just scrub through this and have like a different response or something for kind of that ending piece. And suddenly I've got myself a 2-bar loop. And it's really inspiring in that way, because not only do you get the versatility of being able to bounce this stuff into audio or whatever, but these patches are the type that just keep giving back, and that's the significance behind them. And I could easily say, okay, well, maybe I like this or whatever. The first option that we can do is, for one, to just pull up an entirely different preset. I can just come on here and type in MPE, kind of like this, and then, okay, let's try this one out, and just hit F or whatever and see what that sounds like. Which, I mean, yeah, it all sounds good to me. So, I could easily do the same thing and bounce it out, or do two different ones and bounce that out and kind of mix them between, create a call with the first bass and then create, some kind of response with the second one. But the other thing that is equally, if not more important, is the fact that because these patches are set up, I've included so many snap heap and multi-pass presets that you can literally just come into here and switch these out. So this one is Inception. Let's try a different one like Crossfader and see what that does. Oh, this one is a template, sorry. Let's try Coffin Creature on this one, and then let's switch this multi-pass preset up into maybe something from Talk to the Foreman or Spiderweb, right? But the cool thing is that the macros stay. So if I turn this up, right, I don't have to go back and reroute all these things. So all the work is already done for you. And really from this point, you're just playing Legos with building and messing with my patches. And that's part of the reason why I think that there's so much value within this in general. So, I don't know what this is going to sound like. It could be cool. It might not be cool, but there's a whole world for you to explore without having to feel like you have to know too much about sound design. So man, there's just a whole lot of things that you can do in between that. So between the possibilities of doing, what we've kind of come to establish as mud pies, I prefer sound design jams because that's kind of what has inspired all of this. Between doing that and then working with the patches and then, doing the sequencing like that, like you really can build easily like a whole entire suite of music. Now, I will say that, of course, this caters towards like, really heavy neuro genres and stuff, but you can just as easily high pass this stuff and create different, textural rhythms, maybe from the sense of, taking the sample and putting it into the transient mode where it stops and then changing it into stuff like this to where it actually does like repeats. And suddenly you've got this really cool kind of swell thing that doesn't really sound like bass, but it's got all these interesting textures and stuff. And really just like the mileage that you can get out of it, you can kind of see that like the possibilities here are, I know that almost every preset pack that you download, or whatever someone tries to sell you is like, oh, it's limitless or whatever. But I really kind of think that with this, especially with heavy sound design, especially with heavy kind of music or experimental or anything just new and different, that you have so much at your fingertips and you don't have to go very far to get it, other than, of course, the price point. So I hope that this was insightful to you all, and I really 100% believe in this pack, and I just, yeah, please do me a favor, go get it. And if you've already bought it, then please leave a review at the bottom, whatever. I love this thing, and I love this thing that I have created, and it is my Frankenstein child, and I'm super proud of it, and I hope that you guys can share this amazing experience with me. So thank you guys. If you have any questions about the rest of the tune itself, or if you guys want to see me cover other things like other sound design things from this tune or drums or whatever, then let me know in the comment section. I try to keep this like relatively focused towards kind of like how I use those sounds or whatever in a song. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to those who have already purchased the pack, and I will see you guys in the next one.